What's goody in the hoodie, Blackwell family? Welcome back to the Blackwell Box, where we heal through having real conversations with real people. I'm your host, Wellness Liss, and what's goody in the hoodie? What's up? Happy Wellness Wednesday yet again. Thank you for coming back and hanging out with us in the Blackwell Box. Before we get started, make sure you follow me at wellness.list on Instagram, and make sure you're following the Blackwell Box on all platforms. It's the Blackwell Box. We on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. That's where you can get our video content. And you can catch the audio playbacks wherever you get your podcast. The easiest way is just to say, hey, Alexa, play the Blackwell Box podcast. And bam, I'm being in your living room, in your bedroom, in your car, wherever you got your Alexa speaker at. All right. So today, you already know, in the Blackwell Box, we talk all things minority mental health. And so for me as a therapist, today is a very important topic. Okay. So today we're going to be talking all things on the area of suicide. All right. We're trying to get some awareness with suicide awareness, with these difficult mental health topics that I feel like we don't have enough candid conversations about in these minority communities. So boom, today you're about to get your daily dose of wellness. Here we are. And who better? Who better to talk about this? We got my good sis, okay? She is the founder of a suicide awareness nonprofit organization. And might I add, she is in the last created best design. She's in my very own chapter. So you already know it was only right for the lituation link up, okay? Because these SG Row women, we are it. We are knowledgeable, okay? We are aware we are having the conversations that you other orgs are afraid of. Now I'm just playing. But all right, without further ado, we about to bring her in. What's up? How you feeling today?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good.
Good. Thank you for coming into the Blackwell Box with us. All right, y'all. We got Naraya in the Blackwell Box. What is tea? What's up? What's the vibes today? I like the little black and white contrast. Okay. Okay.
No, not
We're
too
in the
much, not too much, not too much.
all right. All right. How's Cleveland treating you? How's Cleveland?
We get when we got snow one day, we got sunshine, 70 degrees the next day. So just trying to make it.
Yeah.
Cleveland,
Cleveland is
Cleveland.
Cleveland. I
Yeah,
definitely
definitely
feel
can't
that.
wait.
Yeah.
Definitely can't wait to make it out of Cleveland.
You know, it's the nature of the beast. I feel like everybody say that about their own hometown. Everybody be like, I can't wait to.
Yeah, but Cleveland like way depressing. Like Cleveland, every time you look up, it's just something bad, tragic happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying, tragedy happens everywhere, but Cleveland, they
Yeah,
here.
the mistake on the lake. The mistake on the lake. But they trying to do a little turnaround. They
A little
trying to
bit, a little
be about something. But yeah, definitely, I definitely can feel that. So we just gonna hop right into it. And I'm gonna ask you, where did your wellness story begin? When did you start saying like, okay, I need to really tend to my mental health and myself and start getting this journey started?
It's so crazy because my journey started in 2018 on this day, literally.
Mhm. Oh,
Um,
wow.
I know that's crazy, ain't it?
Look at that. Look, alignment.
Yeah. I got baptized. Um, I was going through a lot in my childhood. Like I was in foster care, so I didn't really have my parents at after a certain point in my life, and I think the things I went through in my childhood, like to this day, are still very damaging. But it was a moment where I kind of just had to let go and let God, like, because it got to a point I didn't know where I was gonna go next, what I was gonna do next, or how I was gonna really survive out in the real world at 15 years old.
Mhm.
So I kind of that's what I did, and it's crazy because I tell people all the time, like when I started going to church, when I started, praying, talking to God, and really going on a leap of faith, I seen so many things turn around for me, like so many
Mm.
things changed for the better, and um, yeah, and then when I got to college, I found a different coping mechanism, like, and I wouldn't recommend this to nobody, but there was a point where I just had to get away, and I booked the
Mhm.
trip to Paris. I didn't tell nobody until the day I
Mm.
left. And I would say, like, I felt I had to travel far enough to find myself. Like, I had to travel
Mm.
far enough, long enough to really find out who Naraya was. Like, I feel like I'm always, like, I have abandonment issues, but I don't want to always be alone. And I had
Mhm.
to be alone. So I spent
Mhm.
2 weeks in Europe, and I honestly think to this day that probably was the best decision I've ever made at 18 years old.
That's dope. That's definitely dope. I definitely feel like traveling is one of those things
Yeah.
that is really helpful. It really is something that once I tapped into, especially my experience, being from Cleveland, when I was there, a lot of
Mhm.
people really wasn't traveling. Like I feel like
Right.
we just low key got outside.
Started.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we just got outside. So I feel like that that traveling can be really therapeutic. That's something that my mom recently, like, she started solo traveling, like left, right,
Mhm.
boom, flip, skip, and she's a lot, less stressed out, less
Yeah.
bottled up.
It
So
definitely helps.
I wanted to ask you, so with all your travels, why do you think seeing the world is so important, specifically for the Black community? Like, why is that a good thing for us to do?
Honestly, I think we see nowhere outside our city, whether we're in Ohio, Georgia, wherever you from. A lot of people feel like that one, black wealth is coming up. Like,
Mhm,
you know, people are making a change, which is good. But like when I was younger, my parents, like my biological parents have never been out the country ever. They
mhm,
may go state to state, but being out the country, never.
mhm,
And it's just like we don't see nowhere. Like we either afraid, and I
mhm,
will say, like I told y'all how I went to Paris. A lot of my family projected their fears onto me. And I went and I
mm,
did something good for myself. So I just think it's important because it's just like you're never going to see nothing. You could hear about Africa, but are you going to go? Are you going to see
mhm,
their culture? Are you going to see how they live? You can hear about Paris, but are you going to go? It's all about
mhm,
seeing different cultures. And honestly, for me, it has changed my perspective and outlook on life to see
mm,
how different people have lived. I've been to South America, I've been to Africa, I've been to Europe, and seeing the different cultures, how they eat, how they speak, what they do, that changed your perspective on life. Especially if
mhm.
all y'all gonna do, and most people in our age group, especially, y'all not like keep going to LA, Georgia, Atlanta, and like that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Miami. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like go beyond the horizon, go farther. Like it's more to see than just California, Georgia,
Mhm.
Florida, New York, Chicago. It's more to see.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's very important to really give people a different perspective on life and give them a different
Mhm.
outlook on life.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like the more I started traveling, even within the states, that was like a big culture shock. Like when I
Mhm.
left Cleveland and moved to DC, I was like, whoa, people
Mhm.
move different, just in a whole different, in a different state, and then moving to Atlanta. So then also when I started traveling outside the country, I was like, whoa, like those things that we think, are weird or don't know about or don't
Mhm.
understand, you start, like you said, you have that different perspective because you've seen different people do things. So you're not so inclined to say like my way, the black way, the white way, the US
Mhm.
way, the whatever way is the right
Exactly.
way because you realize like they doing it a different way and it's working for them. So it's not really no right or wrong. It's just a lot of different perspectives and it kind of opens your mind up to not be so closed minded to what is
Mm.
weird, what is normal, what is okay. And I feel like it, like you said, it could definitely have that therapeutic piece to it. So my next question is, what role has your travels impacted like your emotional and mental wellness? Like how has that affected? How do they interplay with one another?
I think for me, that's definitely a coping mechanism I have when things go left. It's always,
Mhm.
oh, now I'm gonna book a trip. Like that'll make me feel better, you know.
Mhm.
Any inconvenience in my life or anything I'm going through, it's like I'm running from my problems because I feel like if I run far enough, I don't gotta deal with it, you know.
Mhm.
So emotionally, I feel like it definitely helps. But mentally, it's just the mental state of knowing when you get back, it's back to reality.
Mhm.
As I mentioned, I went to Paris, I came back, and yeah, it helped. But mentally, I still needed help. Like I still
Mm.
needed to go an extra step to really get my mental together. And it was
Mhm.
like that's just the shock and coming back to reality. Like I came
Mhm.
back from Paris 2 weeks later, I had to check myself in, like
Mhm.
just because like Paris was amazing, Europe was amazing, London, like all of that's good, and everybody's looking on the outside, like, oh, she must have it all, or oh, she's doing so well, she's so happy.
Mhm.
But mentally, if you mentally is still not stable, that's not gonna help
Mhm.
when you get back.
Yeah.
So, now it makes me happy to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Just gotta have that balance for real. You really gotta
Yeah.
have that balance. That way you can go anywhere, but it's not gonna feel dreadful to come back. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants to come home from vacation, but when you so dreadful, like that can mess you up.
Yeah.
So I would just say for emotionally, it makes me happy. Like it
Mm-hmm.
don't make me think about the bad things or what's going on in my life and mentally.
Yeah.
It just depends on the mental state I'm in, like and how it changed my perspective. Again, like you just gotta really sit and reflect on those trips or sit and reflect during that time and most importantly thank the most high. Like because
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't personally. I know a lot of people who have seen me in foster care and seen the person I was would have never thought I would be as far as I am today.
Right. Right. Okay, so I definitely agree with that. That we have these coping skills that make us feel good in the moment, and that we should still do those things, but that there is an additional piece to that of making sure that you're not doing these coping skills and doing these things that make you feel good, but not actually tending to the issues and the difficulties and the emotional, place and the mental headspace that you are in outside of that. And so I was wondering, like, how did you get the courage to start telling your story? Because for those who don't know, you are very verbal about, sharing your experience and how
Mhm.
you've overcome those things. So how did you get the courage to come back from Paris, and tell your story and seek the help that you feel like you needed?
Well, when I started, I was a senior in high school, and that's when I started Project Living. And
Mhm.
I honestly got the courage because, like I said, I had been through a lot. Like I had missed my whole junior year of high school. I had to come back my senior year and do double. Like I was doing in-person classes for as a senior and doing
Mhm.
online classes as a junior, working hard just to graduate on time because I didn't want to graduate late.
Mhm.
Um, and it was a situation that happened at my school where people like was recording, making fun,
Mm.
laughing, joking, ha ha ha, but nobody
Yeah.
knew my story. Nobody knew what I was going through, and I kind of just had to speak out. Like I felt like I wish more people would have saw the signs and spoke up on my behalf.
Mhm.
But it takes a lot to be saved. It takes a lot
Yeah.
for someone to really see genuinely what's going on with you. And
Mhm.
I had to really take my experience to help other people. Like
Mhm.
now I have a whole village of people that helps me, checks on me, all of that from my church to former teachers, just off the strength of the resilience I showed.
Mhm.
So overall, I would definitely say just really what I went through and using my experience. Like I
Yeah.
think that's my biggest thing is to really turn everything. Not meant to turn into a life lesson, but every experience happens for a reason.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I would definitely say that. And nowadays, like it just be some days, like I just speak on it. Like you ain't
Yeah.
always gonna be good. You ain't gonna always be happy. You never know what somebody is going through. And I always say, like, no one would ever understand fully why I can decide to pack up and go whenever I want to. And
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So to anybody that's thinking about seeking help, telling their story, you just gotta build that courage up and just know who's to judge you. Nobody's
Mhm.
God, nobody's hired. Like, who cares? Because everybody go through something. Nobody in this
Yeah.
world is perfect. And having to keep the funk about it and like fake, that was me. Like I was in
Mhm.
middle school faking like my life was everything and I loved my life, knowing I hated my life when I went home. I used
Mhm.
to fake like and it's so crazy. But I used to literally fake like me and my mom were so close, and my mom loved me so much, just because I didn't want my friends to feel like, oh, they got one up on me, they got a mommy.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
at home it ain't like that. So
Yeah.
it's just like when you fake for so long, you kind of break. You break.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened with me. Like I got tired of faking. I got tired of people thinking that I just lived this perfect life. I'm so happy because when I go home, I know I'm not, and I know
Right.
what I'm going home to. Like it literally used to be a point where I felt like only going to school was my only outlet because I didn't
Mm.
have friends. I didn't go play outside. Like it literally was school and home, and that's it.
Mhm.
So I definitely feel like for anybody that's going through that, you definitely got to just build that courage up because nobody can judge you.
Yeah.
And when you start to tell your story, that gives people a different perspective on who you are and why you are the way you are. You know,
Mm.
Because a lot
Yeah.
of people, when I was younger, they used to always say I was so mean and I was a firecracker and all of that. But that literally that stems from living and growing up in chaos.
Right, right.
Like my mama didn't even call my name at home. It's bitch this, bitch that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's just like that reflects in the behaviors that you show on the outside when you outside of the home.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I think that that's, and I definitely appreciate you sharing that and sharing your story just in general the way that you do, and helping people to see that there are people out here who do talk about these things, that are overcoming these things, that still have mental burdens and those things, but are still continuing to push through. And I think that in my work personally and in my life professionally, I have come to the conclusion and been able to see, that like nothing happens for no reason.
Mhm.
People, everything that we do, everything that we're acting, the way we're acting, the way that we're thinking is because, something has happened in our environment and we just really taking our best guess. We just shooting the
Yeah.
shit, trying our best, to be able to, maneuver through that situation. So I feel like a lot of times, even us having this conversation, there is a narrative that a lot of things are kind of don't ask, don't tell, especially in minority communities. And I'm not sure, I can only speak from my experience and my professional experience, but for you, do you think that it is normalized to talk about these topics like in the Black community, talk about abuse, talk about suicidality, and talk about those things?
I would not say it's normal, 100%, only because it's not always talked about. Um, and then when you do talk about it, depending on who you're talking to, like I could talk about it to someone that's in a generation older than me, and
Mhm.
they don't always believe in therapy. They don't believe in getting help. Like they believe in keeping stuff inside the family.
Mhm.
And going off my generation, nowadays everything is a flex. Like everybody want to
Yeah.
live what they see on Instagram, and they don't realize social media is not real life. That stuff's
Mhm.
not real. So
Yeah.
it's just like people, they could, like I said, they could be going through the storm, but they not gonna say it. They gonna act like they life is perfect.
Mhm.
And they,
Yeah.
even when you talk to them, you check up on them, they're gonna act like everything all good because they don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to say, nah, this is what's up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wish it definitely was more normalized than what it is, only because
Mhm.
even being in college, I know people are going through stuff. I know mentally, not everybody all the way there, especially as a college student, and then being Black
Mhm.
in America today, like
Yeah.
this thing that I wish it was more normalized than it is. I feel like you might get a couple good people that will share their story or talk about mental health. Then you got other people that just have to make it seem like their life is perfect, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. I definitely agree to that. And even, my own self, it took me a very long time to be able to come out and tell my friends and my family about the abusive relationships that I've been in and about when I've had suicidal ideations and attempts and those things. And a lot of people are like, whoa, what? And
Yeah.
expressing like the insecurities I had, the thoughts, the dark thoughts and the demons that follow me. And I think a lot
Mhm.
of people were like, what? Whoa. And that kind of propelled me to say, okay, the fact that everybody is so surprised and is so like not talking about this hush hush, that made me even more, realize that like even though people are not necessarily saying it, that maybe they're not saying it because there isn't like a space for it or because they're afraid. And so that's why it was always important to me to share my story, to, be that example, just like how you're doing, so that we can get that more normalized. I think that, to your point, over time people are getting more comfortable, speaking their truth, but social
Mhm.
media is also a gift and a curse. And I think that
Yes.
we still got progress, we still got progress that needs to be made. So from your own personal experience, if someone does, if and when, let's say someone sees your content and they feel inspired and they want to share with their loved ones, that they feel like they're going through a really dark time or this
Mhm.
toxic situation that they're in, just from your personal opinion, how do you think we could best support our loved ones if they do come to us and say, hey, I'm having these suicidal thoughts, hey, I'm being abused, I'm being neglected, I have these dark situation, a dark cloud around me? How do you think we could best like support our loved ones in that situation?
Um, Definitely one thing I would say is to take out all judgment,
Mm,
I think that was something that I dealt with where I was just being judged. It was just always, oh, you're being dramatic. Oh, this, like, just not valid,
Mhm.
making it invalid, and I definitely think validating their feelings and being an open ear to talk to, like, because if they coming to you, obviously they feel like that's you the only person they could turn to.
Right, right.
And you can't sit there and invalidate their feelings by saying negative comments or saying that, oh, they're being dramatic, or oh, it's not that serious. Like, that's one statement I hate, is it's not that serious.
Yeah.
Like, you're still living, or you wake up every day and such don't. That does not matter. Like,
Mhm.
what does that have to do with what I'm going through? So I definitely would say being an open ear, checking on them frequently, but not bombarding them. Like,
Mm.
you bombard them with questions, bombard them every day, that can get overwhelming. So I definitely
Mhm.
think checking on them in a healthy way, and being a listening ear with no judgment.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that non-judgment piece is really key because I think that that keeps a lot of us from talking about this kind of stuff in the first place because we say, I know
Mhm.
they're gonna say this, they're gonna say that, they're gonna judge me, they're gonna think less of me. I know that was my biggest thing. I was like, like everybody
Mhm.
think that I'm this happy-go-lucky, confident, like I'm the key girl, like I'm the one. So I can't show that because either one, they're gonna be so concerned and they're gonna be all up my butt asking me this, that, and the third, like you
Mhm.
said, bombarding me, or they're gonna blow me off. I hear it way too many times, even from like when I work with kids today and I talk to their parents and they be like, oh, they just being dramatic, oh, they
Yeah.
they doing that white people stuff. And I'm like, the fact that people even still have those
Don't.
ideas and
Mhm.
are comfortable enough to even share that like with their child's therapist, like, oh no, he being dramatic, he ain't got no anxiety. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so I think that's really a good piece of, being able to put down that judgment and let go of whatever thought society has taught us, about having these conversations because they are real experiences. And I think a lot of people, we because we don't talk about them, we think they don't happen.
Right.
And we think that black people don't complete suicide. We think that black people don't get depression. We think that
They
black
think
people aren't
it's an
going through these things.
intentional thing. They think it's an intention to get action. For
Exactly. And
for African Americans to even attempt, let alone to say it, and that's very sad. It's very sad that it's looked at like that because
mhm.
it's real. Like, when people do those steps, like, that's their mental, like, and then you sit and realize, like, what am I doing? Like, and you're
Mhm.
trying to figure out, like, really, like, you don't wanna be here, but on the other hand, it's just like everybody in your ear telling you how much you should be grateful for, how much but it's just like that. What does that have to do with me not wanting to be here and having those?
Right. Right. And I think, like you said, just the more we have people who drop that judgment, the more we will have people who
Mhm.
talk about these things, and then it will be more normalized. Like I think I just read something that said like black men are like the number one, like older black men are the highest population to complete suicide. And I
Mhm.
think we're not having those conversations. We're not pushing that information. We're not searching it up, figuring it out. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind with that. So I always commend people, who are brave enough to tell their stories, especially young minority people who are like, yo, this is real. This is happening. This is not white people stuff. This is not,
Mhm.
it's not supposed to be a secret because the more that we feel comfortable talking about those things, the less occurrences we'll have of people feeling like, I got to keep it bottled up to the point where they actually do, go through it and we lose a life because we were
Right.
not able to support in a non-judgmental way. So you have always been, pretty verbal about, your experiences with being in the foster care system, with abuse, with, having those suicidal ideations. So when you were going through that in the thick of it, what helped you protect your mental health and really get through those difficult situations? What do you think were like some key mental health things that helped you deal with it?
I honestly would say church, like,
Mhm.
when I got into the church, because prior to that, I was all over the place. I was
Mhm.
literally all over the place. There'll be some days I was good, then some days, like, I'm having mental breakdowns, like, "What's my purpose here?" Like,
Mhm.
no family, I ain't got nowhere to go, I'm couch hopping, like, "What am I doing here?" You know? Um, so I definitely would say getting in a church, building relationships with other people to the point where I trust them and I can open up to them and tell them things, to talk through them. Like, I think
Mhm.
that was my biggest thing, talking through what was going on in my head and not leaving it bottled up, because I feel like when
Mhm.
you leave it bottled up, that makes it worse, you know? and it adds more pressure onto you because it's just like you going back and forth with your mind, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely say that. And even now today, writing a lot, journaling, everything I'm thinking, even
Mhm.
stamping it and timing it just to go back and be able to reflect on it to see
Yeah.
the growth and how far I've come from those thoughts or what's going on, you know?
Yeah, I think that that reflection piece is really key, and also you saying that spiritual piece, because no matter what you practice or whatever you believe, I always tell people it is an amazing thing. It is a freeing feeling to believe in something bigger than yourself and to
Mhm.
not feel like you have to bear the weight of the things that you're going through, to be able to have some type of a spiritual connection, some type of a community. That's another thing that you get from church, having a community, having a tribe to love up on you, having that higher power, and having something bigger than you to kind of lean on in those
Mhm.
difficult times. And like you said, journal. I've heard a lot of people lately, and when I was in my deepest, darkest moments,
Mhm.
definitely one of the things that pulled me out was getting back into scripture and leaning on prayer and those things to feed
Yeah.
my spirit, saying my affirmations to myself, focusing on how I talk to myself, and then also journaling, because I'll
Mhm.
be writing and I'll be like, I'm here faking. That ain't even it. Let me get real, and being able
Yeah.
to start being honest with myself in a way that helped me be honest with other people, because I'd be
Mhm.
writing and I catch myself like, you know what, like, why you lying? Like, this is ugly. This is
Right.
raw. This is not pretty. And you need to acknowledge that for yourself in order to ever acknowledge that, and be able to share that with anybody else. So I definitely agree with that point. And so to the concept of going to church and starting to do those things for your mental health, I think that a lot of times, like we said, people don't speak up because they automatically think no one will care, or,
Mhm.
it'll be a difficult time. So what was that like for you when you first started, telling your story and confiding in people like, hey, your grown-ups, your parents are like the first people that, we think these
Mhm.
people are supposed to love us. I can't turn on these people. So what was that experience like for you when you first started opening up, like, this is what's happening and this is how I'm feeling?
Honestly, telling my family, like different members of my family, everybody's like, she got a bad attitude, she got a smart mouth, that's
Mhm.
like I deserve it. Like if I got
Mhm.
a smart mouth. And then kind of same thing, she being dramatic, like ain't nothing wrong with her, and then compare me to kids that don't have nothing. And it's just
Mhm.
like a roof over my head, clothes on my back don't mean nothing.
Mm.
Like if what's going on in the house is so traumatic to the point I don't want to be here, what's the point, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I would say in the beginning, nobody believed me. Nobody
Mhm.
believed what I was saying. Nobody believed that I was going through what I was going through. It took the fact that I had to literally show proof that this is
Mm.
what's happening, and I don't have no reason to lie. And to this
Mhm.
day, because I have two younger siblings, so now it's reversed. Now it's, oh, she's so crazy. Talking about my mom, she's so crazy. She this, she that. Stay away from her. But when it was me, it was I was being dramatic.
Mm.
Nobody wanted to believe me. So it's like now y'all see it for sure, and then see it happening in my siblings, and now everybody wants to be on the fence. Now
Yeah.
everybody wants to help, you know?
Mhm.
And that part hurts the most because when I was in foster care, nobody wanted to help. Nobody believed
Mhm.
me. Like literally, nobody believed me. And it took
Mhm.
years for some of my family members to sit up and apologize to me for not believing me. And that's
Mhm.
sad. That's sad to me.
Yeah.
And to this day, like that has created a distance between me and my family to the point where I don't talk to my family every day. Like
Mhm.
the main person I talk to is my granny, and that's it. But I
Mhm.
don't talk to my dad's mother every day because it's
Mhm.
just that's very, very hurtful to know you're confiding in your family, you're turning to your family to bring awareness to what's going on, and they just feel you're being dramatic and
Yeah.
are invalidating how you feel. So I would definitely say in the beginning it was hard. It was very
Mhm.
tough because I felt like no matter how many times I tried, no matter how many times I reached out, that's all it was gonna be. I'm being dramatic, you know? And
Yeah.
to me, that was not fair.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that it's important, as we talk about these things. And I've
Mhm.
had a similar conversation with people about like coming out being gay, that
Mhm.
as we talk about these things and we tell people, you're going through this, tell people and share this. We also have to share those experience of it's not going to necessarily be pretty. We,
Mhm,
of course, we want people to be comfortable enough and love themselves enough to finally, when they feel like it's safe to share these things so that they can be in a
mhm,
better place. But we also have to be real about, like I said, we have a real conversations with real people. We have to be real with the fact that when we do share these things, that it's not always glitz and glam. It's not always thank you so much for telling me this. Yes, let's help you out right now. Let's support you. Especially like we said in the Black community where there are a lot of those beliefs that go against seeking that mental health help,
mhm,
and so those things are minimized because they're not physical. If you would have went to a family member and said, "Yo, my arm is broken," it was hanging, there would have been no
mhm,
questions asked. But because those things are not always as visible, we can't hold them in our hands. We can't hold abuse necessarily in our hands or
mhm.
those dark thoughts that we have in our hands. So I think it's hard for people to respect them and understand them and know what to do with them. So I think I appreciate you sharing that because I think it's important to tell the real side of
Mhm.
it. And so with that, when you with you telling your story and having to go through, people not believing you, people being like, "Oh, you being dramatic." In the end, do you feel like it was worth it to start having those conversations and tell your family what you were going through?
I think so, only because it's just like when now y'all see a pattern of it, y'all know, when it came to my
Mhm.
siblings, that pattern is being shown. It's just like I'm glad that they made it out as young as they did.
Mhm.
Because to be honest, the things I went through as a child started early. And
Mm.
if something was done early, I probably it wouldn't have as much trauma, wouldn't have be as damaged as I am today.
Mhm.
Like, it took me to be 15 and me making a call to CPS, me telling, you know,
Mm.
for somebody to move for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Versus with my siblings, like y'all see this happening, and now everybody wants to make a difference. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to make a move and take them out that situation,
Mhm.
which is respectful. I appreciate that, and because at the end of the day, if they were still there in the situation, no telling what would happen to my siblings, what would
Yeah.
be with them.
Yeah.
But I definitely just feel like it helped in a way. Um, and it's just I try not to hold grudges, but I just wish that, and I always say this, I just wish that even when it come to my pops, like I wish somebody could have saved me sooner.
Mm.
Like I
Yeah.
really do. I
Yeah.
feel like the things I had to go through at a young age should not have never happened leading into
Mhm.
high school because now
Mhm.
like I have to learn how to love myself. I have to learn how to really not be dependent on other people loving me.
Yeah. 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 And I think that that's a really good piece because it's like, yes, those things are difficult. We go through those difficult times, but at least there is something positive that can come out from that. You being able to get yourself out that situation and your sisters being able to have that support, but it still doesn't erase, those
Right.
negative feelings and those experiences that you had to go through. And I always tell people all the time, which is a big reason why I initially went into child psychology was
Mhm.
because the things that happened to us as a kid, we carried us. I hear people say so much, like, oh, they
Mhm.
just a kid, they don't know no better, they'll outgrow it, they don't know what they
No,
seeing,
but
they don't know
you
what they
carry it
thinking.
life.
And every adult I talk to is like, oh, I remember that they can reference these traumatic things as kids, but
Mhm.
then it's also difficult for them somehow to show that same grace with their own kids or the other
Exactly.
kids that they
That's true.
are around.
That's true. Cause like even with my dad, like my dad wasn't raised by my grandmother. My aunt
Mhm.
raised him. So it's just like he comes from a broken place.
Mhm.
And like he can say all the stuff that happened to him as a child, and he's 40 some years old. And the
Yeah.
fact that that's still affecting who you are as a person today says a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's just like sometimes I think it's very hypocritical. Like you're being a hypocrite. Like
Mhm.
when you was going through that stuff, you got out. But now it's, oh, you're being dramatic, or oh,
Yeah.
you don't want to speak up. Like I think my dad, when it comes to him in that situation, I wouldn't say he was brainwashed, but like my mom is very toxic to the point
Mhm.
she drove my dad to drink his life away, literally.
Mhm.
Like every day he's drinking. And
Mhm.
I feel like that took away from him being able to save me. And I always say like it sound I don't know how to word it, but like I feel like in that moment you should have saved all three of us.
Yeah.
Like, because now it's a different dynamic between me and my siblings. I had to, you know, go back around and regain like a relationship with them because
Mhm.
I was away for so long from them.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like that's how we, uh, end up with this generational trauma, you know?
Mhm.
It happens with one person, and then it goes to their kid, and their kid, and their kid, and it gets so ingrained that
Yeah.
we almost get, like, blind, or we normalize it too much.
Mhm.
You know, we say, "Okay, well, I got through it, you can get through it," you know? And your cousin got through it, we can get through it, and it takes pioneers like you to crack the shell and be like, "Yo, yo, yes, maybe we can get through it,
Mm,
but first of all, we shouldn't have to get through it. We shouldn't
exactly.
have to sit here and sit in this traumatic space because you experience a traumatic space and that's all you know. And it takes those people to break those generational curses and be able to say, you know, like the buck stops here. I
Mhm.
went through this. I don't want my sisters to go through this. I don't want my kids and my nieces and my nephews to go through this. Someone has to wave the white flag and say, "Yo, yo, yo, we got to do something in this space." And I think like I've said multiple times, like I really commend you for being able to be that brave person to be like, you know what? I know that y'all all saying that this is cool and we all went through it and we all got whoopings and we all rah rah rah. But like, no,
Right.
this is not okay. Just because this is our normal doesn't mean that this is the standard. Doesn't mean that this is the expectation or the life that we should continue to go through. And so even with you expressing like your time in the foster care system, I think
Mhm.
that there is a lot of just lack of knowledge about that in general, you know, about how many black bodies there really are in the foster care system and
Yeah.
about how people get put into it and get out of it and all those things. So,
Especially in the county we live in. Well, I live
mhm.
in, but Cleveland, like Cuyahoga County foster system is crazy. Literally, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. So to that point, what is something that you think the average person probably doesn't know about the foster care system that you think like you more people should know this for real?
Um, I think that people should understand those kids don't need somebody that's looking for a check.
Mm,
Those kids need somebody that could rebuild them up and love them how they should be loved. I think that's the biggest thing in the foster care system. It's just like they already traumatized. They already come
mhm,
from damaged situations, and then they get into foster care, and people in the county, they're so quick to just place people wherever they could find.
mhm,
It's just like you placing them with somebody who don't even want them, where they have a lock on the fridge, or they don't even have clothes. Like they're taking their money and buying things for their own kids, or
mhm.
treating them very different than their own. And that right there can add more trauma to what they already have.
Yeah.
So I definitely would say, for those, even those that don't want to do it, just know, like, it's the foster system, it has to be better. It definitely has to
Mhm.
be better. Like, they have to stop just letting anybody just be a foster parent because they need people. Like, you have
Yeah,
to genuinely want to do it. You have to genuinely want to be a parent to somebody else's child that you did not birth, because
yeah,
that's what's going to matter. Like I said, they've already come from traumatic places. So to go from one place to another, that's not healthy, and it's
yeah,
mentally that's gonna kill them.
yeah. I definitely agree, and I appreciate you, you know, sharing your perspective on that because I know just from not being a foster parent or not being in the foster system, but just being a therapist and working with children, you know, I have experienced a lot of coworkers who are kind of like they get burnt out quick because
Mhm.
you know they signed up for it, but they didn't really realize how
What
deep
they
it was
gotta
going
do.
to, how
Mhm.
heavy it was going to get, how difficult it was going to be to have somebody else's kid that didn't come out of you coming to you and with a lot of baggage and
Mhm.
either sharing or not being able to or not knowing how to share, you know, these big emotions. They have, you know, having a lot of things bottled up. And I think that a lot of people we think of, you know, people that go through the foster care system and we think that once they get out, once they turn 18, that like it all goes away. You
And
know,
it
that all the
doesn't.
childhood
It
trauma
doesn't.
goes away. And that's very, it's
Mhm.
fake news.
And the truth is, like, I aged out of foster care. So I was in
Mhm,
foster care until I was 18. The truth is, when you age out, you have nowhere to go. You have
mhm,
to literally figure life out for your own now. They throw you out. They don't teach you how to drive. They don't teach you how to go open a bank account. They don't teach you how to fill out an application for somewhere to go.
mhm,
You literally age out. That's it. They have no obligation to place you nowhere or nothing. And that's
mhm.
why, if you look at the statistics, not a lot of children who age out of care go to college. Not a lot of children who age out of care make a living for themselves because they don't know how. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like if nobody's teaching them, nobody's helping them, they're not going to school. They're
Yeah.
just trying to literally survive. And
Yeah.
that's why a lot of foster children, they be stuck in survival mode because that's all they know. That's literally all they know. So it's like when you age out, say I had nowhere to go, say I didn't go to college or whatever, what am I gonna do? Go to a
Yeah.
shelter? And yeah, you can go to a shelter. You can they'll try to get you a place to stay. It ain't gonna be the best place, but you don't know how to navigate yourself through life with
Yeah.
no guidance. Cause now you don't have a caseworker no more. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's down your back checking on you. See, like you have none of that no more. You're
Yeah.
literally on your own with no support. And a lot of children in foster care don't even have contact with their real family. So it's just like it's just you versus everybody else.
Yeah, I can understand how that could be a very difficult situation, especially like as a black woman or just as a minority individual with life being life to us already on top of,
Yeah.
having to teach yourself how to exist in this space and be a healthy and be a happy human and
Mhm.
not be, controlled by your past and your trauma and your emotions and having to navigate that a lot by
Exactly.
yourself. But what I will say is from what I can see, from what I know, and you sharing your experience and being resilient that you have been able to go through those obstacles. And of course, we all still are going through life obstacles,
Mhm.
but are making a conscious effort to be your best self, to tend to your mental health, to share
Mhm.
that story, to normalize those conversations and be a great resource with your foundation. So before we get out of here, we got to ask you, you've been through the ringer and you still standing. You even made it to the last created best design org. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you're doing pretty well. Okay. So from your personal experience, what are three things that you think we could start doing today that will help improve our quality of life, help us deal with our trauma, help us, push through another day? What are three things that we can do?
One, definitely take time for yourself. Take time
Mm-hmm.
to really tend to your mental, to your emotional health. Like it's okay to take time for yourself. And don't be afraid to say no to others. That's something I struggle with. Like I was literally burning myself out because I'm worried about everybody else and not myself.
Mm-hmm.
Take time for yourself. Always shoot high. Always stand 10 toes down, even if there's nobody behind you. That's one
Mm-hmm.
thing that kept me going. Definitely always stand 10 toes if no one's behind you. Because at the end of the day, you matter. So it's just like you gotta do what's best for you. And then lastly, definitely keeping faith. Like always remember whatever you believe in, always walk by faith because you never know how quick your life could turn around for the good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. So we got keep to yourself. Don't be afraid to have that alone time.
Mhm.
Stand 10 toes down, even if nobody else is rocking for you. Love yourself enough, fight for yourself enough to have a better tomorrow, and always keep that faith because you never know. You never know when life is going to flip, skip, and search and change up for you for the better. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much for stepping into the Blackwell
Well,
box.
thank you for
Of
this
course.
opportunity.
Thank you for coming and sharing your story and normalizing these conversations. I know that even though if you do it a million and one times, it still is, a toll to, continue to
Mhm,
bring up those things and deal with those things and share your story as,
mhm.
we all are still going through things, and share those pieces of your story. So now you locked in with the Blackwell box, you in the Blackwell family. So we got to know, how can we support you and your business and your brand and what you're doing and stay locked in with all the things that you have going on?
Just staying connected, like just staying connected. I think that's my biggest thing all across the board with anybody. Just
Mhm,
always, everybody don't always got to keep in touch, but just having that connection to know, like, okay, what's up, you good, like whatever. Definitely that. Definitely like even before this, like just me staying updated on the things you post on Instagram, like that helps. Keep those
mhm,
posts on because you never know who's gonna see them, and then at the time they see them, how bad they needed it.
mm. Thank you, and the same for you. So where can we follow you? Where can we find you? Where can we find
You
Project
can find me
Living?
on
Like,
Instagram at Naraya Beyonce. That's it. Yes, that's my real name. Um, so Naraya Beyonce on Instagram. Y'all can see me, my little inspiration quote, my travels.
mhm.
And yeah.
All right. Well, make sure y'all head over there and follow her. It's definitely gonna be the vibe. You're gonna see it's gonna make you be like, oh, I need to book a trip right
Right,
now. So
yeah.
let me get my mind together. So I hope that you all, I know that you have been able to take something with you, been able to learn something and heal through this real conversation. Before we go, as always, make sure that you follow in the Blackwell Box on all platforms. You can get the video streams on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. You can get the audio playback wherever you catch your playbacks. Thank you so much again for coming in here, being a part of the Blackwell family. And we're going to see all of y'all. Hopefully, we see all of y'all again next Wednesday, next Wellness Wednesday for another episode. And until then, in the meantime, in between time, make sure y'all stay black. Make sure y'all stay blessed. Make sure y'all stay beautiful. And most importantly, make sure y'all stay well. All right. Peace out.
Bye.